All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're looking at how a messy, massive physical liability is transformed into a high-value, verifiable digital asset. We're exploring a truly fascinating intersection of geopolitics, waste management, and edge computing AI. Let's start with a stark reality. 3.46 million tons. That is the staggering volume of municipal solid waste, meaning standard household and commercial trash, that is exported and shipped across the border to Michigan landfills from Ontario, Canada, every single year. To put that into perspective, Ontario's trash accounts for a massive 14.35% of all waste disposed of in the entire state of Michigan. It is a logistical and environmental heavy lift of epic proportions. So this brings us to the core mystery of our explainer today. How exactly does a standard, off-the-shelf consumer smartphone, specifically a Google Pixel phone, threaten to completely upend this multi-million-ton cross-border waste trade? It sounds like science fiction, I know, but the answer is happening right now on muddy construction sites. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll cover the border waste crisis, building the Sentient Bridge, the digital refinery workflow, why data is the true product, and finally, securing the circular bioeconomy. Let's get into it. Section 1. The border waste crisis. Mud, politics, and landfills. If you look at the year-to-date headline news trends, they are highlighting this exact Ontario-Michigan waste corridor as a highly charged geopolitical flashpoint. You've got intense political scrutiny involving figures like Donald Trump in Washington and Ontario Premier Doug Ford, all navigating the complex implications of USMCA, or CUSMA, and cross-border tariff tensions. Compounding this, Ontario is facing a very real landfill capacity cliff in about 9 years. But of all the municipal solid waste crossing that border, construction and demolition waste, or C&D, is the most chaotic. It's messy, it's unregulated, and it is full of contaminated materials, like chemically treated wood that literally nobody wants. Moving on to Section 2, building the Sentient Bridge, silicon in the mud. Now, the tech stack making a solution possible is honestly incredibly accessible. We're talking about a company called 905 Wood, and they aren't relying on massive, fragile server racks out on the edge. No, they are operationalizing a standard Google Pixel 11 Pro running the Android 17 operating system. Inside that phone is a Tensor G6 Edge TPU chip, which is explicitly designed for on-device AI. They combine that with a process called Turbo Quant Compression and Google's LightRT AI stack features. It is a completely vertical industrial-grade AI runtime living inside consumer hardware, right there in the dirt. To actually make this work, you have to somehow fit a massive AI brain into a small phone memory. And that is where Turbo Quant Compression comes in, essentially shrinking the precision of the model's weights locally without sacrificing its intelligence. Think of it like taking a giant, incredibly detailed map and perfectly compressing it so it fits in your pocket, but still gives you the exact right directions. This literal squeezing of the Gemma AI model onto the LightRT AI stack is what allows it to run sub-second decisions on the edge TPU without catching fire or draining the battery in an hour. I love this analogy. Think of this edge AI setup like a giant, intimidating bouncer at a club. A normal scale, it just checks your weight. But this system uses Gemini 3.6 Pro on the edge to visually parse unstructured waste in real time, frame by frame. It makes complex, sub-second quality control decisions, like spotting hidden, toxic CCA-treated wood, completely offline. So if you're in a dead zone on a rural site, the bouncer still works perfectly. Section 3, the digital refinery workflow, from trash to truth. Let's trace the 905 Wood digital refinery workflow. It starts off super simple with a request for quote or RFQ for a bin. Once the wood is loaded up, boom, that AI sub-second visual scan fires off. The instant the wood passes, a hold-to-seal cryptographic escrow is triggered by the phone's Titan M2 security chip. It's like minting an unfakeable, tamper-evident birth certificate right there on the job site. Finally, this digital refinery application workflow generates the UI/UX output, pristine PDF documentation features, specifically a USMCA certificate of origin that acts as a tariff firewall right at the border. And because of that exact UI/UX output, 905 Wood is able to provide provenance-verified clean wood feedstock straight to biochar producers. Corporate buyers absolutely demand this level of verification. They don't just want a promise. They want the digital product passports and the rigorous compliance documentation required by the Puro Biocarbon market methodologies, which is effectively the global gold standard for carbon removal certification. The industry term for all this is DMRV. Digital Measurement, Reporting, and Verification. Visualize it like a forensic evidence bag at a crime scene. When you drop physical scrap wood into the system, the digital chain of custody seals it. GPS, weight, AI visual classification. It is an unbroken, mathematically sound record that makes this totally chaotic wood eligible for the premium biocarbon market. Section 4. Data is the true product. The value shift. This brings us to a massive realization from the source material. The physical action of hauling the scrap wood, that's just the baseline requirement. It's really just the chore that allows them to generate the actual, unfakeable cryptographic data. That data is the true product. Look at the stark contrast here. A standard waste hauler just moves physical trash for a logistical fee, right? But by operationalizing this AI stack, 905 Wood's value shifts entirely to the DMRV provenance data cut. They are actually acting as a SaaS application service operating on the edge, generating a premium carbon dividend, because the data, not just the wood, is what they are selling. The physical commodity is simply the vehicle for the software service.
To protect that value, they rely on what they call the compliance spine. This is a rigorous set of rules dictating exactly what can and cannot be claimed in their marketing to completely prevent greenwashing. It clearly defines that 905 Wood acts strictly as the DMRV provider, the evidence bag, and not the issuer of the carbon certificates. The absolute regulatory integrity of their data is their entire competitive moat.
Section 5. Securing the circular bioeconomy. The Model Council. Now, above those phones at the edge, there's a heavy cloud tier called the Model Council, and it doesn't just rely on one AI. It uses 3. You've got Gemini 3.6 Pro handling complex multimodal regulatory reasoning. Claude Opus 4.8 handles audit-grade compliance and arbitration if a decision is ever contested. And crucially, GPT OSS 120B is a sovereign open-weight model that runs entirely on Canadian soil. This means sensitive data protected by Canadian PPDA privacy laws never crosses a border. They cross-check decisions against each other, completely eliminating AI hallucinations on vital compliance documents.
And all of this translates directly into market opportunity. This is how you turn a massive liability into a premium commodity. If you look at the Puro registry feedstock sources for biochar today, almost all of it relies on clean forestry residue, or agricultural waste. Construction and demolition waste is usually just too dirty and risky to touch. But 95 Wood's data unlocks this massive, previously untouchable waste stream, capturing a brand new slice of the pie.
Ultimately, the 905 Wood digital refinery acts as the sentient bridge between chaotic construction waste and the strict, high-purity requirements of the Puro methodology's biocarbon market. This compliance gate allows messy Ontario construction waste to become perfectly audit-ready. By doing this, this SaaS application service secures Ontario's industrial leadership in the Canadian circular bioeconomy, taking a multi-million-ton border liability and flipping it into a world-class asset. So I want to leave you with this. If we are already at the point where a dirty garbage bin full of scrap wood requires a thinking smartphone and a multi-layered AI council to cryptographically verify its contents, how long until every single physical object in our global supply chain demands this exact level of unfakeable digital truth? Thanks for walking through this explainer with me. It really does change how you look at the physical world, doesn't it?